Hello and welcome back to WIXOSS May Ceremony 2022. Round 2 matchup, Card Jockey Mirror, except with me playing Wolf, my opponent playing Lion Center. So looks like she is going first. Yep, so there's the inner charge. Um, Probably a pretty standard opener. Expecting to see Wolf Laser. Yep, there it is. So thankfully, I do know. I mean, having played Lion as long as I have, I know generally what the deck wants to do. So this is a situation where I actually feel like I have, even if, regardless of what the quality of the decks aside, the fact that I know her deck or what will probably be in her deck very well, and she probably has no idea what's in mine, is enough to give me hopefully an advantage and an edge in this matchup. So she goes into Zhao and Haniel. So relatively standard opener. Um, Haniel, honestly, in Card Jockey is not a card that I use very often. Even in my line builds, I stopped using it by the time I finished. Mostly just because of the life burst effect. That I really don't want life bursts on my level ones. I'd rather have them higher. So, but it's objectively a good card, so I understand why people use it. So far, nothing too crazy. I intercharge the Gauche Grow. I think I'm looking for options here. The fact that I've already grabbed my Elrig deck. Yeah, I have this game. My opening hand had no level ones in it. I had a Parajulis. Oh, I guess that's a level one. I'm a big fat liar. I had I had a Parajulis in my hand, Arcwin, Gauche, a Heterophony, and a PRJ. So three level threes, a spell, and a Parajulis. Um, if possible, I'd much rather not use the Parajulis because I can't vanish with it on turn one. So if I have a choice, I would prefer not to do it. So I do MC Line Dig. I find another Parajulis and a Pandana. That's another, as I mentioned in the deck tech video, having the dual colored Signy as level one that you can find. You can use MC Line Dig for either color. It just makes it so much easier and more consistent to find things. So I opt to go into Love It to vanish the Zhao because I know that's going to be a problem for me moving forward because so much of my removal is tied to Signies. And plus just keeping the pressure on and kind of going turbo speed. So she flips into a good dig right off the bat, which is a little unfortunate. If she finds a level one, then that means that all of my loveting has been for naught. Um, in other, that's another Zhao. So she Zhao's into Zhao basically, or I guess the Zhao I vanished is now back to haunt me. Um, if this had been a later turn, I guess the Zhao itself would have protected itself. So in that sense, it's not very good. But another benefit of having Parajulis be an attack trigger removal is in a situation like that, where if she had found something else that would have been within within the range, that Parajulis could have still come in and vanished it anyway and still gotten that damage. So another reason why Parajulis in this tournament really blew me away with how useful and just generally good it was, to the point where it's like I almost don't even like playing Lancelots anymore. I think Parajulis is that good that it's sort of become the Lancelot replacement. That's not to say I will not stop using Lancelot because I'm going to keep using Lancelot until it becomes obsolete. But having that option on the level one again repeated, you can use it every attack turn if it survives. You can use it on attack phase, so you're denying them enter before their chance to grow. So if they don't have enough enter to grow into an assist, Parajules can do that. So Lancelot comes in, she opts to clear the lane, and then here comes some damage. Servant, but my trash is empty, unfortunately, so you hate to see it. And then amino acid, a little too late as well. It would have been nice to have those, reversed potentially. And then the Elrig attack is heterophony. So despite hitting 2 out of 3 life bursts, it felt very underwhelming. I did get, I guess, 1 enter charge out of the amino acid, but the rest of the amino acid and the servant effect was completely nullified just based on the timing, which happens. So I opt to pay for with the servant here. Um, it's not something that you hear very often, but in this situation, it's worth mentioning just because, although I'm heterophony here, so no, I mean, you should just pay with the servant anyway. Basically, the gist is, as you've seen in this very matchup, that I had a servant flip and I didn't have a servant in the trash. But if you pay with a servant on your turn to grow, for instance, now you have a servant in the trash that if you were to flip another servant and the life cloth, you can pull it back to your hand with the servant effect. So if that's not something you're doing, just if you have the ability to make sure you have a servant in your trash at all times, that's generally a tactic that's probably good. Just again, trying to min max everything as much as you can. Be in a situation where if you do flip into a servant, you can actually get servant value out of it by pulling the servant back to your hand. So it looks like I do not have enough to actually fill the lanes here, which is very unfortunate. If I remember right, in this situation, I had of the 5 cards in my hand, like 4 of them were level 3s. So somehow I managed to pull all my level 3s out, and they're just sitting around doing nothing. And then the Parajewels comes in and crushes into an Arcwind as if that was not enough, damage happening. Thankfully, I did have the Lancelot left. That was the only attacker I had left. So I was able to return the Lancelot to my hand to potentially get more value out of it in the future. In a perfect world, I would much rather have just done the damage anyway, especially against a card jockey. Um, this is just going to be a race to the finish. It's going to be whoever goes first or whoever gets, their all their big plays out first is going to have a huge advantage and potentially, get in. So enter charge. She will grow into level 3 here. So, does the whole lion thing to refill her hand. Extremely valuable. So all things considered, I feel like I'm in not great position right now. I've had some really costly life bursts that have kind of blown up some of my plans. You expect at least some level of them, but I think that's like at least 2 damage I left on the board through life bursts. The fact that I couldn't fill all 3 lanes is extremely unfortunate, especially with how high my curve is. You'd think you'd have some 2s in there to be able to do something with. But so she grows into love it. Now my board is completely open. And Card Jockey has the tools to remove all that stuff anyway. Because if she had a Lancelot, she could have banished something, and then she could have loveted something else. Maybe not a Kiyosumi necessarily, but it would have at least forced her to use the resources to do that, as opposed to just getting the free lane. So Arcwind comes in. She does not pay. Lancelot comes in. Obviously, nothing to vanish. I'm not. This is a little bit feels like a little bit of a misplay that she. I don't know what her reasoning was. She grows into love it for some reason, which is not relevant because there's nothing on the board. I think she also grows into wolf as well. I think it's just just general inexperience potentially with the deck. Because I believe this is Mirage, which buffs her Signy. The buffing could have been relevant, but usually you do that in conjunction with the ability to banish your opponent's Signy. So the 2 assists to grow were a little perplexing, but I wasn't in a situation where I was going to correct her to do that. Obviously, the punchline comes in. So I'm deciding whether to crossfade or not. I think I have 6 here. So I can potentially crossfade and crush. In doing so, I do run the risk of not being able to grow into wolf level 3. So I think that's kind of what I'm weighing my option. whether I pay the full and crush, or whether I pay the 2 just to open a lane and save a damage. Instead, I opt to Lion, Disrespect. So I pay the 2. I believe I choose Arcwin, and then pay the other 3 for the Lancelot. Oh, and I do the discard too. I did. I had a lot of level 3s in my hand, so I was not going to be in a situation where the limit would allow me to play them all. So, and now I'm correcting her. It's sort of like a, by the way, it doesn't down it, but she, for her memory's sake, she wanted to remember that they can't attack. But again, if you hit something that hits an upped Elrig, um, you can still do stuff to it if it can't attack. So, I'm in good shape. Um, I've used my line assist, but it's done its duty. It saved me the 3 full damage, which is basically exactly what you want. I have a Pandata in the enter zone, so I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll have another green source of enter to grow into Wolf, so that's not a big deal. Plus, of course, the punchline. That's potentially a nice little cache of enter that's coming my way. Of course, at the cost of taking a lot of damage. But so that is Deafening Inferno, so she'll get the full 3. I don't remember if I have guards or how many I have. So there's a servant again. As I mentioned before, if you pay with the servant, you can get it back, which is exactly what I do. I didn't. Watching the playback now, I did not do a good job at showing her what I got, but I did say that I got the servant. I'm deciding whether to take the other damage or not, honestly. Oh no, that's actually not the case. I believe I'm reassessing what I'm choosing. Because in my head I do have the flexibility to grab a servant, but what I'm actually doing here is choosing to take Kiyosumi instead so that I can future code. Because Kiyosumi is an awesome future code target. The fact that she's a level 2, it makes it a lot easier to manage your limit. So you can just have any level 3 and you have a Kiyosumi, and then I can potentially, my limit will be 7, so I can potentially use a Lancelot as well. So I have to do that, which ends up working out because the next life burst is a good dig, which I use to grab a servant, and then pretty sure I use the servant here. Yeah. So it's funny, I talked about, necessity of having a servant in your trash, and then I don't even pull it back with the servant life burst. But I think I made the right play. The Kiyosumi, I feel like, again, the fact that it enables future code and it can really put the pressure on. Also, the misplay, I think, of growing her assists. I know that her shields are basically down. So between future code and between endless punchline, I have, like, with just those 2 pieces, I have 5 damage coming her way. Um, it's conceivable, although unlikely, that I can potentially also get into crossfade, although that seems like a huge enter ask considering that I'm going to future code on this turn, or at least I'm likely to future code. Although I can get the full 6 with Lion. I don't remember how much I started the turn with. I think I need like 1 more enter. Because again, the fact that Punchline allows you to attack while downed is huge. Because what you can do is you can down Wolf to enter charge, in this case, which is what I've done. I can use her once per game, which is what it looks like I'm doing that. Once per game to down Lion to stand her back up, and then enter charge again, which is another 2. And now I have 6 enter ish, something like that. I can grow into crossfade here, pay the full 6, crush the cloth, open the lane, and then once crossfade or once Love It becomes level 2, I can down her to restand Wolf again and get 2 more enter. So VJ Wolf, the combination of VJ Wolf's action ability and her once per game, and going along with the fact that you can attack while down with punchline, It basically allows you to pretty much guarantee that you have 6 enter to work with, 6 extra enter to work with on your turn. So yeah, I downed Love It again to restand Lion, or I'm sorry, to restand Wolf, and then I downed Wolf again to enter charge. So now I'm, despite cross-fading fully, I have enough enter to now go in with the future code. I'm basically all in at this point, which is not shocking. I mean, I'm punchlining. I've got 2 PRJs who both have Lancer. Again, I know that her shields are down because she used her assists. I don't know what her other piece is, but I'm actually feeling quite confident right now. So in a lot of cases, if you have a Lancer type effect, I feel like it is correct to attack with the open lane first. Because what you so in a vacuum, for example, if I had this exact setup, I would tend to attack with the Panda first because it's in the open lane. The reason I attack with PRJ in this case is because it's so important for me um, to have PRJs on the field to tax her guards. So I would much rather have the static effect of the PRJ as opposed to potentially allowing a situation where she can do exactly what she's doing, where she can ambush in something with the good dig. Because thanks to the good dig now, she was able to fill up that lane with the Panda, where with a Lancer type effect, obviously the lane's already full. So you could still just swing over. The good dig wouldn't save her any damage in that case. But again, I weighed my options and I felt like having the PRJs on the field as opposed to like if you crash into a Deafening Inferno or an Arcwind and they disappear off the field, the fact that she can pay less to guard is much more important. So I flip into a dig, so she's got to pay 4 to guard anything. She's got 2 cloth left. She actually does guard 2 of them, so all of her enter is now gone. So I'm very thankful that I kept those PRJs because at the very least it's going to be really hard for her to open up my lanes. I have 2 cloth left. She flips into a Haniel, which that'll potentially refill her hand or field with options. But I felt like the PRJ taxing really did a good number. It's unfortunate that she had the guards in hand, but basically enter burning her for 8, I think was worth the exchange. So I feel like all that was the right play. The only thing that I might have changed potentially is again attacking with the Panda first because the lane is open. But I've mentioned how I feel about that. So the extra 1 damage plus, I mean, she still has a cloth left, so the extra 1 damage anyway would still have not mattered overall. Like the game would still be going on regardless of if the extra damage came in or not. So the fact that I potentially protected my enter burn effect, for lack of a better term, um, I feel like that's the right decision. It's a little unfortunate because I've used everything. I mean, both of our shields are done at this point. Usually, I like to use crossfade as a defensive assist, but I thought that I would have had enough damage and pressure to swing in for game there. But I was genuinely not expecting the 2 guards to come in. I figured between the Lancer effects, the full board, I would have been okay. But thankfully, because she's so enter starved at this point, and my Signy were just big enough, from Lancelot's, or I guess she could have Lancelotted the Panda. Um, I'm able to survive another turn. So I don't remember. I think she once per gamed here, and I just take it. Just as again, going against Lion, or not going against, having played Lion for so long, if you once per game and you're not in a situation where you're swinging for lethal, it's just so much easier to just take the damage. Because otherwise you're just discarding guards for no reason. So I feel like she probably didn't because obviously she was further away from lethal. I upped to charge here. I don't remember why. Oh, good dig. That would be why. at least gives me options. I'm pretty sure I also have another Kyusumi in my hand. So Kyusumi is a really funny card in that having one of them is excellent, having two of them is bad because you really don't need more than one in your hand at any given time. Um, because otherwise it's basically just a vanilla 8K that has a very situational enter ability. Especially if you haven't yet played one, like playing a second Kyusumi on a turn is usually completely irrelevant. Unless you're like, I guess if you're playing Madoka Center Diagram and your opponent has small enough Signy, you could like lure them into the trap, so to speak. But in this deck, there's no reason to have one more than one Kyusumi in my hand at a time. So digging, got some options. There's the other Kyusumi. There's the Lancelot. So as is tradition, you lance the lance. I do need one more. I shouldn't say I need one more. If she has a guard, she can survive. Although I know she just played two of them on her last turn. So I do have a Gauche in there, which Gauche is a really sticky Signy. So I'm feeling at least if I'm not able to kill her this turn, there's a decent chance that I actually still survive. Although she does flip into Arcwin. So she's asking about my Signy. She's going. The Kyusumi is obviously the bigger one, and originally she says the Kyusumi, but then I mentioned what Goshi's ability does, because that's another side effect of Gauche that is extremely relevant. That if Gauche survives until the end of turn, then I can pull that servant back into my hand because there's a servant in my enter right now. So another reason why Gauche is awesome in the long game because she can all this enter that Wolf generates. Gauche can turn it into card draw. But I was able to get in. She does not have a guard, so that is the end there. A couple of somewhat questionable plays on her part, which I was happy. I shouldn't say happy, but I took advantage of it. So I was able to sneak out this one despite some potentially bad life bursts and that sort of thing. So everything ended up working out okay. I felt a little bad about it, honestly, but at that point I was like, it felt like the universe was kind of giving me a win, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll just accept this and move on and hopefully continue to do well. So I was able to get past that. I'm up to 1-1 now, and next up we have is the Uchu matchup. So if you're interested to see how Wolf will play against more control-y grindy decks, then definitely look for that one in the future. So as always, thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.